Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 153 of PD's Awesome Guest Panel. Now, before we introduce tonight's returning guest star, I would like to introduce tonight's co-host for this evening. And for the first time in a very long time, one co-host, not a multi-panel this time. My co-host at this time, she's from the land from down under, Miss Jessie Devine.
Hi.
You know where I'm going with this, right, Jess? You know what I'm going to say next.
Yes.
Positive, I'm just going to say two words that define you. Positive optimism.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you, sir.
No, right?
And now to introduce tonight's returning guest star, he's a man that I have so much respect for. I loved his work growing up as a kid. He is a veteran animator, a veteran voice actor, and you know what? A Fox kid legend to all kids such as myself growing up. He is the creator of projects such as Eat the Cat, the Dumb Bunny, and Jackass Show, and he has written as well for shows like Tales of the Crypt, The Simpsons, and Robot Chicken. My guest at this time, Kumbaya, is Mr. Eat the Cat himself, Mr. Bill Cobb.
Kumbaya! How's it going?
How are you? It's great to have you back.
It's wonderful. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
Likewise. In fact, you were actually one of the first people I had on my show too when I first started it 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's about, yeah, wow. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
And I think we've improved so much since times have changed. I mean, we went from 15 episodes to 153.
That's great.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
good
sir.
for you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, the reason we wanted to bring you back on because first of all, I love having you on the first time. We had to bring you back a second time, and there's qu many questions that I forgot to ask you in our first interview that I would love to discuss with you right now.
Here we go.
Okay, so the first question I had for you, sir, and I can't believe I forgot to ask this, and this is foolish of me, and that is, what's the inspiration to your style? And by the way, I love your humor. I love the style of humor and creativity. So I just was curious to know what was the inspiration for your stuff, for your humor and creativity for any projects you do.
Well, there's two like big basic ones, and one is Monty Python, and the other one is Jay Ward, the Rocky and Bullwinkle stuff.
Hmm.
And my personal favorite cartoon character of all time is Daffy Duck.
Oh.
So I think if you mix all those things together, that you wind up with somebody like me. Yeah.
Look,
Oh, also, big on classic horror movies, classic black and white, Creature from the Black Lagoon, stuff like that.
me too.
That was fun.
Me too. And let me ask you too as well, like, because you mentioned as well. I'm gonna get back to that one though. But just your first question for Mr. Cop.
What inspired you to create Eek the Cat?
Okay. Savage, the guy I did the show with, actually had a cat named Eek, and it got carried away by like a hawk or a falcon or something, and like so I'm not kidding. A bird like came and grabbed this cat from the driveway and flew off with it. And so we thought, because the cat was so sweet, that it would be really funny to have a character that was always looking for the best in everybody and always positive no matter what was happening to him, but also gets the shit kicked out of him every time. But he never wavers. He never gets depressed or anything. That's Zeke the cat. It never hurts to help.
And I finally remember what I was gonna ask you too, because you mentioned you're a big fan of Daffy Duck though. Which
Yeah.
incarnation of Daffy were you a fan of? The Bob Clampett, the Tex Avery, or the Chuck Jones?
Well, you nailed it. Bob Clampett's the guy
Oh,
for me. He's the way more psychedelic. Look at something like what's the book one? Book story? Book
um,
I forget the name. Book book soup books. um Book review. That's what it's called. That's an amazing cartoon. His animation was so elastic and crazy. It was very surreal and fun to watch. So that's why, yeah, he's my favorite Daffy
oh,
guy.
me too.
He's my favorite of the Looney Tunes directors overall.
Would you say, Mr. Cop, that uh, Yucky the Duck was actually an inspiration of Daffy, or no?
Well, Yucky Duck came later.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, would you say, like
Oh,
watching Daffy inspired Yucky?
yeah, I think so. For sure. I don't see how you can avoid that. And it's a duck for a kickoff. So, yeah, I think so.
I'll never,
That was a long time ago. That was me and Pat Ventura. Yeah.
I'll never forget that episode with Yucky because I remember watching What a Cartoon, which you
Yeah.
worked on, and of course that episode where he's the waiter with the steak and he's trying so hard to cut the steak and he had to use like a jackhammer or a chainsaw. It's like
Oh,
that kind of comedy was just perfect, sir.
Yeah, and Pat was a genius at that stuff. Well, that's why I did the Tales from the Crypt with him.
Well, you want to talk about that? Like, you talk about your time?
Yeah, yeah. That was that show happened. I had tried for probably a year to get a pitch to Joel Silver, and I was pitching. I think I later turned it into a book, Little Dead Riding Hood. And I kept trying to get a meeting, trying to get a meeting, and I never gave up. I called like every day at like noon to his office, and finally, Topper Taylor got an intro for me and Joel, and he had I can't remember now. It's been so long, but Topper with Nelvana had some kind of deal with Joel Silver. So we went in there and I pitched him Little Dead, and Joel Silver was like, "Well, can't you do what about some with the Three Little Pigs? Do you have one of those?" Lied and said, "Oh yeah, I got a story like that, but I just got to clean it up. I'll send it to you this week." So I took like the next 4 days, I think, and I wrote the whole thing. But all the while I was writing, I was thinking about Pat and how great of it, because we had worked a lot together. And I was like, well, this is the perfect like Pat Bill Cop, tandem, creative experience. And so we sold it, and we had did the animation in New Zealand, where the same studio that had done the Tex Tin Stars on Sugar as a Meat, because we were so impressed with their animation. We took it down there. But did I answer the question right?
You did. And I was curious to know, what part of New Zealand? Auckland?
Yeah, we were in Auckland, and then we had to go to Churchill Christchurch, whatever it's called, in Wellington,
Hmm.
and scariest plane flight of our lives because it's so windy there. But that was a little production studio at the time called Weta, and they were just starting out. That was Peter Jackson's place, and they were only doing post production stuff.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That-
so that's why there's no cells from that episode, because um, that was the first time we had done like digital color.
and this is at a time when we had the traditional hand cell animation, right?
Yeah. So we did all the animation by hand and digitized it and then colored it. But we had never done that before. And then once I got back to LA, all the other shows subsequent to that, aside from Mad Jack, were all digital color.
Do you prefer a traditional hand cell or a digital ink and paint?
Well, you have a lot more. It seems like there's a lot more control over the digital color. There's a lot more nuance that I think is available to you. But I still prefer even the digital stuff I do now. There's always a big degree of hand drawn animation going into it. So I think that the hand drawn animation for me is never really going to go away.
That's fair. And I was curious to know, Mr. Cop, too, who would be like you as an animator, who would be in your Mount Rushmore of animators?
Okay, let's see. Tex Avery, Bob Clampett, Bruno Bizzetto, Italian great master. Um, Boy, who else is really crazy? Um,
Would you say Ralph Bashki?
I love a lot of stuff that Ralph Somebody's never been a favorite of mine. I wouldn't put him on my Rushmore. The Fleischers. I would put them.
Oh,
And then probably Ward Kimball.
good list.
Those are like my top, I think, guys.
Good list. I mean, for me, I would definitely put, Bob Clampett, like you said, Tex Avery, Chuck
Yeah.
Jones, and would you count like as one or two people, William Hanna and Joe Barbera?
I think they're one guy.
Okay, Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I love those guys. I met both of them, and I did two Tom and Jerry movies too,
well,
and they were involved.
well, I gotta ask you too, because you also, I believe, played Tom too, right?
Yes, I
So,
screamed for Tom.
what was it like working on the Tom and Jerry franchise?
Well, Bill Hanna and Joe loved it because I went back to, them not talking and brought back the slapstick violence. So they loved it. Yeah.
And people too, Mr. Cobb, you got like I think you agree too. Like without Tom and Jerry, there wouldn't be like these stuff like on South Park. You have Terrence and Phillip, and then Itchy and Scratchy on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're one of the original cartoon duos, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
They
it
are.
wouldn't be you wouldn't have Abbott and Costello. You know what I mean? It's like there's always a great team. We used to make a joke, and we would just have it's like the generic comedy duo would be like Fatty and Skinny. You just call them that.
Oh,
Um,
another project you also did too, Mr. Cobb, is like you worked on the earlier seasons of the Tracy Ullman episodes of The Simpsons, and Jess has a question related to that too. But I want to get your opinion on this one scene in The Simpsons. I don't know if you ever saw this episode, but it was called "The Day the Violence Died," which was a parody of "The Day the Music Died." It featured the issue between animation and plagiarism, and then there was a scene where Roger Myers, the creator of Itchy and Scratchy, who's in court defending his case against Chester Lampick, who invented Itchy. He went on this tirade, and as an animator, I want to get your opinion on this rant. And I quote, this is what he said. Okay, maybe my dad did steal Itchy, but so what? Animation is built on plagiarism. If it wasn't for somebody plagiarizing the Honeymooners, we wouldn't have the Flintstones. If somebody didn't rip off Sergeant Bilko, there'd be no Top Cat. Huckleberry Hound, Chief Wiggum, Yogi Bear? Ha! Andy Griffith, Edward G. Robertson, Al Carney. Your Honor, you take away our right to steal ideas, where are they gonna come from?
that's exactly, perfectly, absolutely right, and totally justifiably defendable, and everything. It's like Salvador Dali himself said, "There's nothing new under the sun. It's just how you recombine it."
Of
So
course.
absolutely, of course, he's that's a great argument for the defense of what you might call plagiarism, but it's not. You could say that about blues music. It's like we got the same three chords and we're just dun 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 dun. I mean, but the variations that you can build on off of that, then you wind up with the Grateful Dead or
Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan or Jimi Hendrix.
Or like Rick James and like MC Hammer with Super
Yeah,
Freaky Can't Touch This.
exactly. So yeah, that's a great. I was not still on the show at that time. I had left long before that,
I
but
think
that's a
uh,
great. That's a great rant. Yeah.
it is. And you know who delivered that rant too? Uh,
Harry Shearer.
no, Alex Rocco from uh
Oh,
from Godfather when he played Roger Myers and he played
oh,
the
that's
character.
great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm sorry about that, Jesse. Your question for Mr. Cop.
That's okay. All right. Memories writing for the Tracy Ullman days of The Simpsons.
Oh my God. Well, I think it was last year or the year before we did a documentary. Yeah, and Wes and I talked a lot about this, but it was pretty funny. We loved Matt, and we already knew about his work from Life in Hell, and we were big fans of his anyway. So when we heard that he was, contributing, we were like, "Wow, this is great." But he would just come in with the like five drawings, like, "Here's the story," you know. But what was going on in these story idea, his drawing was pretty bad. So our job was to like not only like improve his drawings for animation, which you have to do anyway, but to still retain the essence of like his storytelling. So with all the acting and emotion that goes into that sort of thing, and animators are actors, so. But it was great. So it was kind of like it was super hard work. A minute and a half a week, I think. We each took 30 seconds. But it seemed to me, as I recall, like every Monday, Matt would come in with another idea and we'd start all over again. But it was always a lot of fun. It was never like, I mean, it was many, many hours, but we were so dumb and so young that we just didn't care. So we were working like, 16-hour days and 7 days a week. But we really thought the stuff was funny. And of course, we had no idea. No one ever had any idea what was going to happen. That's like saying, uh, we saw the Beatles play in Hamburg. Right? Who knew what was going to happen? It was the same thing here. But the stuff was so pure and honestly funny that we just enjoyed there was never a thing about hard work or too much work or they're killing us or any of that. None of that ever came into it. It was always like, what's the next funny thing, and how can we translate this into animation? So it was a pressure and a privilege to work on.
Do you remember the episodes that you written for of the Sims of the Tracy Ullman segments?
Well, Matt did the writing.
Oh,
So Matt would, like I said, Matt would just come in, here's the story. And then we would enhance it with gags and visual
oh,
stuff from there. I've looked at some of the old ones, and I can always spot my animation. I mean, I can do that with any animator in the world. I mean, I know who animated what on what Looney Tune and whatever. I mean, you can just tell after a while you know, I mean, I've been studying this. So, um, but I don't look at them a lot. And, but people do send me clips and stuff and they're like, was that yours? And I can always tell. I was the crudest one of the bunch of the three. David was more like really refined, really good with the emotional acting, and Wes was really great at the really complicated scenes that would give me a headache. I was more good at things exploding and transforming and stuff like that.
So, you said it's David Silverman and Wes Archer, right?
Yeah,
Okay. I just want to make sure that I got the animators correct.
those are the guys. Yeah, that was the three of us and Matt.
Cool. And I also want to know too, like you talked about the animating part of, like making shows like Eek the Cat and The Simpsons though. I was just curious to know like how long was the process to make one episode of Eek the Cat? Can you describe the process of that?
Pretty fast. We would write it and shoot that thing up. We did Stavish and I only wrote we did character designs, but other than that, all the hard work was done in Nelvana with storyboarding. So I think the average, and I think it's probably true for most of the shows that I've done, like it usually took about 3 months to get a model pack and everything into production with it one story, and then and and subsequently you're submitting them, on top of each other. So it's very hard to say exactly, well, how long did one take? Because we're doing like three at a time. So but I would think that as I recall, and this could be fuzzy, but I think it's like a few months before we would get stuff back to look at on film.
Hmm. Okay. And
But we were in the process the whole time, like, we'd write the script, shoot it out. Character designs would come back, and the storyboard would come back, and probably in pieces, and we'd okay and approve that, and then that would go into animation. And yeah, 90 days probably is about the time that you'd get enough to work with for. I mean, still there's more stuff to be done in post production after that, but you're already uploading a new episode. You know what I mean? So it's like checkerboarding, like across the production schedule. It's like here episode one, and when that's here, then episode two, and then, so they're chasing each other.
so
It's
sort
like
of overlapping, right?
it's like a shark, coming after you,
A
and you
shark
have to
chasing.
yeah, and you have to make that air date.
Did they have deadlines too where you had to meet
Oh fuck yeah!
Okay.
Oh.
You can curse, don't worry. There's no censorship of any
Oh,
kind.
really? Okay, good.
Yeah,
All right.
there's no censorship, sir. You can say
Yeah, that's the
but
only time in my life I ever had any organization is when it's been in production and had a deadline to look at. Because we would put it on the wall, as big as God. We're like, okay, you got to be here by here and here by here. We never screwed up. On the shows I did with the grandest and everything, we never went over budget ever. We were always on schedule and on time.
who was the voice director on Eek the Cat?
I don't remember because we fired him on the first day.
Oh,
And after that first day, we decided never again will we ever have a voice director. And we never did.
good
We
move.
directed it ourselves. And that's the way I did everything. I've never had a voice director. And I resent having one if I were to do another show.
And I got to ask you too as well. Like you mentioned too. Like first of all, I love crude animation. You're talking to the guy who would absolutely spend 20 minutes just watching nonstop crude animation. I was just curious to know, like, were you a fan of like the other shows that did do like crude animation? Like for instance, Ed and Eddie, like Danny Antoinucci. Like
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of Danny's. Yeah.
same here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, his stuff's great. I got turned on to him when he did the Butcher cartoon.
Oh, with the sneaker.
Yeah.
I saw that. I love that. I actually have that commercial on
What's it
video.
called? Lupo? What was it? I
What
forget
was
the
that?
name. Anyway, I don't know. I thought it was great. And anyway, but yeah, the one I had a problem with was South Park when it first came out.
Ooh.
So I was like, oh my God, those guys are cheating so bad. But their stuff
I
was so
so.
funny. Their stuff was so
Yeah.
funny. I went with it.
Right?
How did you feel? Oh, what was that, Jess?
Right? I was just agreeing with Bill. Just
Oh.
agreeing with Bill. They're so
Oh
funny.
yeah.
How did you feel about the style and humor of like a show like Ren and Stimpy though, which was also very crude?
Well, I liked Ren and Stimpy. I thought it was awesome, innovative. And then, of course, I knew a lot of the guys that were working on that. We used a lot of them on Sugars and Meat. But I thought, I sometimes think they went a little overboard on the gross factor.
Same. It became too gross.
Yeah, but I love the way they captured that era, that feel of like Hanna-Barbera in the 60s. That even with the music, I thought it was really good.
Was especially like one thing I liked about the show, and that's one thing I loved about like your style of animation too, and that is the expressions, like the emotional expressions that the characters
Yeah.
play. Like sometimes it could be overly whacked, like out of this, like blown out of proportion. Then it could be like a serious-minded one.
Yeah, yeah, no, that you gotta. I mean, you gotta have that. You gotta have some subtlety in there. The Red Shipping wasn't very subtle. There were some scenes though where they got really emotional, but
They
it always seemed aggravated somehow. I don't know. I thought it was great, and the guy, the guys that worked on it are all super talented. Another great band.
totally agree. And I want to know too, because you worked on so many projects. Do you have any behind the scenes, any fun behind the scenes anecdotes or stories you could share, whether it was on Eek the Cat or any projects you've done?
Oh God, there's just so much, especially on E. The funniest one that ever happened to me, and I'll never forget it, was we had a Eat the Cat Christmas episode, and we had William Shatner
Ooh.
playing Santa, and we were so excited, and Savage was super nervous, and he was like, "Look, you have to talk to Shatner when he comes here because I'm freaking out." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll do that." I wanted to meet Captain Kirk. So here he comes to the studio, and it is a small studio on Ventura Boulevard in LA, and this Mercedes pulls up, and it's just him, no chauffeur or anything like that. And he opens the door. He opens the door, and he's struggling to get out, and I'm kind of coming over to like see if I can help him or something. And he puts his foot out. He's got this giant cast on his leg, like on his ankle, like he broke his ankle riding his horse, and he was struggling. And I extended my hand and I was like, "Can I help you, or do I need to call Dr. McCoy?" And he looked up at me and gave me the shittiest look. It just like went right through my heart. Like he was just like, "Who the fuck are you?" He didn't say that, but the eyes said it all.
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh my God, I just met Captain Kirk and he told me to fuck off, basically." So we got it. He didn't know that I was going to be acting with him for the next 4 hours.
No.
So we got him in there, and he was just, I mean, I was so shook. And then we wanted him to do Santa in we wanted him to be Kirk. We wanted Santa to talk like this. And he's like, "No, no, I've been working on this character." And he turned him into this really pussy version. I don't know what he was. And we just felt so bad. And everyone was so embarrassed. And he left. And I said, "There's only one way to fix this, and we got to get him back to do another one." And we got him back a year later, and I think he played Santa again, and he was great, and he was funny, and we had a great time, and the whole thing got erased. But I was so mortified, um, because I like he got mad at me like right off the bat. I mean, how do you recover from that? I was like, I mean, I don't think I was 30 years old yet. It's like Captain Kirk hates me. Anyway, that's my big. But there's a million of them, and some of them are on film.
Uh,
I had a lot of fun with Brad Garrett. He was a blast to work with.
he's very
All
tall in real
right.
life, right?
Oh yeah, he's like 6'5" or something, or six. He's big.
What's he like, a gentleman?
Oh my God, he's awesome. He's the biggest teddy bear, and you know what he's like? He's like a giant Don Rickles. He's
Uh,
kind of a smart ass like that. And he's like,
Yeah,
yeah, he's really fun. And God, yeah,
right.
yeah, I go way back to me. It's
oh,
great. And Tom Kenny was great. Charlie Adler, of course, is wonderful.
if I will tell you a funny story actually that's actually gonna make you feel better, Mr. Cobb, about Shatner though, two of them actually, and both one ironically one is by Maurice LaMarche, the
Oh
Maurice
yeah, I
LaMarche
know
stuff.
Maurice.
He told a funny
Me
story.
too.
He told a funny story in commentary one time because like he used to do parody of William Shatner on the show The Critic, and
Yes.
he said one time I went up to him and he was so excited. I shook Shatner's hand and he was so excited, and then Shatner goes to him, "Thank you very much. Please, can you let go of my hand?"
Yeah. Yeah. There was a weird time where Shatner was an asshole.
Yes.
And then he got, I forget remember he had some deal with some plane ticket company or some plane, I can't remember. But anyway, instead of taking a fee, he took all this stock and the company went through the roof and he became like a zillionaire. And after that, all of a sudden, he was like the nicest guy. When he started making fun of himself, then became super cool.
Yeah.
Jess Harnell lives right next door to him.
Ah, I love Jess Honell. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned names like
Just
Me
another favorite.
too.
yeah, I love him as Secret Squirrel. He was great as Captain Hero and Drawn Together. Like those are two names you just named. Three names I've been trying so hard to get on the show as well. Like Tom Kenny, Charlie Adler, and of course, what you just said as well.
Oh, Charlie, I can get you. Will come on. Charlie's great. I've kind of lost touch with Jess, not on purpose, but we just kind of faded away, like people do. Tom, I just talked to before Christmas, so
One day, hopefully one
yeah,
day.
maybe I can maybe put a word in. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. And also make you feel better though. There was like in that Futurama episode where Shatner guest starred. They gave him a roast actually. They actually roasted him, and one of the roasts you're actually gonna appreciate too. Like there was a scene where like Leonard Nimoy said, "We all had to do stuff, Malvar, that we didn't like on the show, but we had to do it."
Yeah.
And the show goes, "That's right. On a couple last episodes, I had to kiss Shatner twice."
Yeah. But once he started making fun of, see, you can't take yourself too seriously in all of this. And, you know, he scared the hell out of me though that first meeting because I was so pumped for it. You know. Anyway, but we made up for it.
That's cool. And we talked about also your recent project, the 2023, the Dumb Bunny and Jackass show. I was curious to know what was the inspiration that led to the creation of the show, like the origins, like what led you developing this wonderful show?
Well, let's just go back to like Fatty and Skinny or the comedy duos that we've always already talked about. I mean, it was the same thing. It's like I think I thought it all started with the vernacular of calling somebody you're a dumb bunny. Well, yeah, and you're a jackass. I'm like, wait a minute, there they are, dumb bunny and jackass. So I wanted to do a cartoon that was more adult and more like open for me. It doesn't mean it's crazy or off the line or anything. I just wanted to do honest humor. So I started making them with Character Animator and Adobe, and it's amazing. I had to learn a lot, but I can make a 10-minute cartoon in about 8 weeks. So I'm working on now that we had to move to Spain, which took some time, but now that I'm here, I'm finishing the sixth cartoon. One of them already won an award in LA last year in December at the LA Animation Festival. And
Oh, there we go. We're here. As
I'm
long
going to release the rest of them in Europe and around the world this year. But after that, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of in a good spot. I can sort of afford to do whatever I want to right now. It's a good
yeah.
spot to be in.
Well, would you say some of the humor, like you said, like honestly, like like with the humor in the Dumb Bunny and Jackson show, would you say like the humor is similar to like or inspiration? Would you say to Beavis and Butthead? Like you're like when they
I
say
think
you're
there's a little bit of that in there. They do drink and they're kind of crass and they're kind of awful. Yeah, I would say there's some similarities just in demeanor there. But there's a lot of fantasy elements that I work into it, kind of like with Eek. So that it's like if Eek drank bourbon, this is what you might wind up with.
and before Jess asks her next question, I just want to say to Mr. Cop that I growing up I was a big Eat the Cat fan. In fact, my parents took me to I believe it was Wendy's or Burger King or McDonald's, and one of the Happy Meals was an Eat the Cat. And I remember this figure too. It was an Eat the Cat figure. He held up a pink sign that you can actually move up and down with. It was a figure, and it said Eek on the sign.
I have a bunch of those here. I found them in a box, like I can't remember what you might be right. They were from what'd you say,
It was
Wendy's or
it was from
Burger
Wendy's,
King?
Burger King, or McDonald's. I remember because I got it in
Yeah.
my meal.
I've got one where Sharky shoots out of a spring, a little Sharky. They're in a box in here somewhere.
Oh,
But I found a bunch because we had to move everything, so we're going through it. I mean, I was going through my old storage space, just like 40 years of animation in there. But I came across a bunch of those. Yeah, I've got like an Annabelle that wobbles around, like she's all fat and around, like she was.
I wish I had the collection though. I remember I only had the Eek with the sign, but I wish I had the Annabella
That
too.
one I don't remember, but I had a Sharky. I've got an Eek that does something, and the Annabelle. Yeah.
Now, I gotta ask you really quickly. Did you prefer writing regular episodes of Eek or like the specials, like the holiday ones, like the Halloween ones, the Christmas ones?
Oh, they were all fun. They're all fun. They're they were all kind of the. We never really. Oh, we're writing a holiday episode. I mean, that was great to do just because we all have memories of holiday specials. But they never really. It wasn't any different than writing the other ones. You know, we just dove in.
I see.
We probably had less time to write those than we because they were kind of extra. So we probably had less time, but less time is better a lot with comedy. You know, the less time you have to think about it, probably the better.
Interesting. And I agree with that. Jess, your question.
Do you prefer writing or animating a show?
Well, they're both pretty hellish. They're both awful. I prefer seeing it done.
Oh,
Well, to me, you can't have one without the other because I usually write everything that I animate. So that I can't like I have to do the writing before I can animate. So they're kind of stuck together. There's not one that I prefer though. One is a break from the other. Writing is super hard and dumb and awful. And then writing it or drawing, at least you have a chance to like go a little crazy, you know. Writing is very diligent. You have to like put all those shapes in the right order, you know. So I think drawing is a break from that. Yeah.
So, so when you do writing and like and animating and voice acting, like, do you feel like you could do like you can multitask and do all three at the same time, or you're like, no, I gotta do this individually. If I'm doing voiceover,
Oh no, no,
I
no.
focus on that.
They're always blending together.
Okay.
Yeah, because one part of your brain is like, oh, wait, what about this? You know, so they're all it's all together. It's all one thing. It's you know, it's going to be one thing in the end. So it's not like no, they're not broken up. It's all like, oh, if I do that here, then I got to remember to draw that this way. It's all connected.
Another question I have to do because I know we ask a lot of Eat the Cat, but because that, first of all, I love Eat the Cat. I grew up literally, that was my childhood,
Yeah.
like watching it on Fox Kid though. But I gotta ask you too, like, how has Eat the working on Eat the Cat influenced your later works?
Oh, hugely. You know, you taught us a lot about having a sympathetic character, which also teaches you a lot about having a cynical character, which was what Mad Jack was all about. So if you look at Mad Jack, which is my favorite of my shows, Snuck is a lot like Eek, and Mad Jack is kind of the counter to that. Eek didn't really have a counter. It was everything he ran into, you know, was a counter to him. But with Mad Jack and Snuck, it was more like a team, and I think Snuck is very much Eek the cat, a sympathetic character, pathos.
Did you really, did you want to talk more about Mad Jack?
Oh, it was a fun show to do. It was great, great fun. I think it's the best thing I did
And who
personally. That doesn't mean anything. I think for most people, they'll say "Eat the Cat" or obviously The Simpsons, but um, Mad Jack for me was personally the most fun.
Okay, Mr. Cop, triple threat. Who's winning in a fight? Eat the Cat, Yucky Duck, or Mad Jack? Who's winning?
Yucky Duck would probably be arrested first. Mad Jack would try to cheat and get caught. I think Eek would end up winning. I think Eek would end up winning.
And he wouldn't even know. It's like, and the winner
Yeah,
is Eat the Cat.
yeah, it
Really?
would be like an accident. Yeah,
Like he's like,
yeah,
I won?
yeah.
I
I
love
didn't
it.
mean to win. Hey, are you guys okay? Yeah, he'd be like that.
I see. He's so lovable. Eat the Cat is such a lovable character.
Yeah, that's the idea. That was the whole idea behind him.
Now we have a couple more questions before we wrap up too, and I promise you the next ones are gonna be fun ones though. So I gotta ask this one because I asked every guest star on the show, and I did not ask this question to you because I came up with it like episodes later, and that is whenever I'm not on a almost like a strict diet, and that means basically not eating and like fasting until dinner time. I am an absolute foodie. And I know you worked on so many projects in the past, so I was just curious to know what the catering scene was like during the productions of those projects you worked on, and what was your favorite meal in catering?
Pizza. Hands down, pizza was it. We had Pizza Friday. That was always the winner.
Topping. What is
Um,
it?
Working at Warner Brothers was no, working at DreamWorks was the worst because they had all day catering. So there was like Dove bars in the freezer and these amazing, I mean, we all put on like 10, 12 pounds working there. It was insane. Um, but Warner Brothers was more like cheap candy, like red vines and
Uh,
coffee and donuts every morning, Krispy Kremes.
I love those.
but
I think it'd be, yeah, probably the best way to do is like, which is the most unhealthy studio?
you.
I would have to say Warner Brothers.
I don't
DreamWorks, the
mind.
food was great, but there it was like, who eats fettuccine Alfredo for breakfast?
So they basically you would think Warner Brothers would actually have a decent catering because they're such a big brand.
Now it was all just Krispy Kremes and then just the junk candy, the red vines. I almost died.
Oh, I'm there. I'm
Yeah,
Uh,
because
so
you can just eat them forever. Like it doesn't do anything.
yeah.
do you prefer red vines or liquor or Twizzlers?
Twizzlers are too deep and weird. Like they're too squishy. Red vines, and then they had the purple
Oh,
vines.
and the blue vines.
Or that was that purple, blue. What's
Was
the
it
difference?
blue or purple? I
I
forgot.
don't know. One of them causes cancer. Probably
Oof.
pretty
But you mentioned pizza too. Name your
sure.
topping. What's your topping?
Yeah. All the meat. Probably with extra onions.
Hmm.
Yeah, and jalapenos.
Th-
Pepperoni, sausage, jalapenos, extra onions.
Good choices. Like for me, extra cheese, pepperoni, and I might be one of the very few people that like this, but this is gonna come to shock. Anchovies.
No, no. My dad used to put anchovies on the pizza when we were kids, and it would infect the whole pizza.
Oh boy.
It's the anchovies on half. They're not on half. It spreads like a bread bowl. The rest of the pizza is going to taste like fish.
And you know what made me try?
Anchovies, really? Do you like herring? Would you eat herring?
You know what? I tried herring. I didn't like it, but I did like sardines.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I can kind of the sardine thing. I can sort of understand that one.
But it's so but I gotta tell you too, like, and it's funny how I became interested in anchovies. Watched an episode of Futurama when I was 9 years old, and there was an episode where a fry bought like $1,000, no, 1,000,000-year-old anchovies, Norwegian brand anchovies, and like I was like, I gotta try this.
Yeah.
They're really big on the seafood here in Spain is amazing. The Mediterranean is like just like 5 miles from the house here, and
What's
the
your favorite
seafood is
cuisine?
amazing. And my wife loves anchovies and sardines, and it's our cat now. So
Did you
Yeah.
name the cat Eek?
our cat, Kitty Pie.
Kitty Pie.
Kitty Pie eats anchovies almost nightly. He is an anchovy.
So cool. And of course you worked, have done many voices too. Like and I like as far as like acting wise, like you always, calculate with your emotions as well. Like and that's why I want to ask you next question. I'm going to put you in a scenario here, and that is the raw emotion question. See, I'm going to say theoretically, Mr. Cobb, if like I'm going to put you in a scenario where you're doing a scene in which you have to lambast, you have to get into a heated argument with your co-star, and your co-star comes up to you and says, Mr. Cop, and he says this to you because he has so much respect for you in the whole wide world. He says, Mr. Cop, this scene requires us to get into this like, verbal altercation. This may sound weird, but I have a really good idea that can not only help, build the story, but also make it believable to the audience watching at home, where you lambast me so hard that you can make me cry in frustration on sight. If you were approached with this type of method by that said actor, what would you say, and what would you do?
You got to be kidding me, right? Get back in your chair and read the fucking paper that I wrote. Sit down and do it the way I said, and this time try it with talent.
That's the first time I got that answer, and you know what? I love all answers, so that's a good one for me.
I never really had that problem. We were usually so busy laughing at each other that the greatest things would come out of not the stuff that wasn't written. Where we would just I always had everybody read through the script where they could try anything. And there was always stuff that was like I never would have thought of it. Do that, do that, do that. But I've never had a problem with my actors
Huh. Okay.
once it
What
survived.
was it?
No, nothing.
Oh, Mr. Vine, your next question.
Oh, how was your experience on working on Ache the Cat influenced your later projects?
We just answered that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
he's been involved in all of them. Yeah, Ika's like a soul that carries through all the shows. There's always got to be, you have to have a little heart in every single character. So yeah, no, it's a great question. That's
Absolutely. And, another question I have for you as well is, I mean, you've been part of conventions in the past, so I was just wondering if you had any fun fan interactions during these conventions, like any fun stories you could share during fan interaction.
oh no, they're all great. I love the fans. It's always surprising how many people like remember everything. I haven't done one in a while. I've just been so busy, and then we moved and everything, so it's been kind of strange. But yeah, no, I've always had a great experience. We've always loved meeting everyone.
We love your work, sir, and that's why you left a legacy like that. Us, like myself and Jesse, will never forget. I mean, we love Eat the Cat, we love Yucky Duck, and we love all the shows like Dumb Bunny and Jackass. So I just gotta thank you for that. And
Well, yeah. Well, let's talk again. Let me finish this last cartoon. Maybe we could do a Dumb Bunny thing, or I don't
I,
know.
I know we'll dedicate an entire episode to the Dumb Bunny and Jackass show. That could be round three for us.
That would be great. That would be
Um,
great.
we have just a few more questions before we wrap up too, and that's first of all, I just want to ask you too. What advice would you give to the viewers watching right now?
If you want to be an animator, learn how to write your own characters, and really learn how to draw well.
Beautifully said, sir. And of course, Jess, Miss Levine, any final comment or question? Oh, and or comment, pardon me. This could be either or, and or comments from Mr. Cop.
Of course. All right. Many thanks. Great to learn about you, and thanks for bringing all the childhoods in us, that including Petey and me, and my mum. She grew up watching Tom and
Oh,
Jerry as well.
oh, thank you. That's wonderful. Well, you're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Awesome. And well,
You're welcome.
I'm gonna say my final piece, but before I do, this is the part where I'm gonna ask my final question, and that is, you're very familiar with this, Mr. Cobb. What's next for Bill Cobb? Now, sir, this is the part of the show you're familiar with. This is an open forum. You could say, do, promote anything you like. I am passing the proverbial microphone onto you. The floor is yours, Mr. Cobb.
Okay, once I finish this last Dumb Bunny cartoon, I'm going to dive into an area that I don't even know where it's going to go. I'm going to do some really weird explorations and try some new techniques. And it's time for me to break out of some of the old standards and try some new experimental animation. So I don't know. And that's the great part. I'm kind of looking at it like, I don't know. Like I'm sort of trying to be very open-minded and without a plan.
You will always have our support, regardless of whatever project you're doing. You're always gonna have both mine and Jesse's support, always.
Oh, thanks,
Uh,
man. I appreciate it.
And my final comment, and this is going to be very similar to Jerry Springer's final thought. My final comment is for you is, and I should have said this to you in our first interview, is like, you have this incredible gift, sir, where you can take a 35-year-old something fan and bring him way down here, make him feel like that 5-year-old watching Eat the Cat on Fox Kids. You have this incredible gift, sir, and I gotta
Oh,
thank you not only for those memories you gave myself and just watching Fox Kids, watching Eat the Cat, watching Yucky Duck, watching everything that you have done, sir. Like it just
oh, that's
means so
wonderful.
much to me. Like to
Well, that means a lot to me, and I'd love to hear that. That's great. That means it's working.
it is, and
Yeah.
I'll say this
No,
too.
there's a big part of my heart. That's where all this. There's a sympathy that needs to be out there. Characters need heart, and they need to make you go to that place in your head.
Definitely. And I will not only send you a copy of this interview today, because I will have it done by today. I like to go very pronto with the interviews. So you'll get a copy of this as soon as it's done today. Not only
Great.
that, but I want to conclude with a variation of of a chant that you deserve, and that is thank you, Bill Cop. Kumbaya! Thank you,
Kumbaya!
Bill Cop. Kumbaya!
Kumbaya!
Thank you,
It
Bill
never
Cop.
hurts to help.
Huh?
Hiya.
It never hurts to help.
No. You have a
Yeah.
wonderful day, Mr. Cobb. Jess, thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
coming on.
You're
Take care,
welcome.
everybody.
My
You too.
pleasure.
Bye.
Awesome, you guys. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye bye.